And the question for Congress coming back, and Congress, a lot of people in Congress were very excited when the president announced he was going to close Guantanamo and have grown progressively less excited as the months have worn on and they've started dealing with questions like, well, where are we going to put these people? And, is there a plan for actually doing it? And the question for them coming back is, has the president given them enough sense of direction and enough sense of momentum that they're, comfortable with acceding to his requests, most importantly on the budgetary issues, but also on, are they going to throw a lot of roadblocks in the way, or are they going to work with him in order to get his plan in this regard done? And I think that's really the question that they're going to face coming back. The nuts and bolts of the problem are that there are only a certain number of ways you can deal with a person. There are 240 people at Guantanamo. There's only a relatively small number of ways that you can handle them. You can free them. You can prosecute them in one of several possible forums, two principally. You can keep them in some form of administrative detention. Or you can transfer them to the custody of a foreign government. Now, it turns out that all of those sound very simple, and it turns out that absolutely none of them is simple. Prosecuting people is very difficult. Prosecuting people in U.S. federal court is difficult. Prosecuting people in military commissions is difficult. Detaining people under the laws of war is difficult. Creating some new detention apparatus is also very difficult. Transferring people to foreign governments requires that foreign governments want to take them. And setting people free requires both a confidence level that they're not going to come back and attack you, and it requires some place that's willing to let them be set free, or else a willingness to bring them to the United States, which creates big political problems here. And so none of those resolutions, which you have to replicate 240 times in order to solve the Guantanamo problem, is easy. The president made reference in this speech to the fact that he'd taken an oath to protect the Constitution and protect the country. That oath is a very disciplining thing. And it's very easy to talk about, when you're a senator or when you're when you're not the commander-in-chief, when you're anybody but the commander-in-chief, to say, well, you create an appropriate process, it has to be fair, it has to be... When you're the commander-in-chief, you're individually accountable for the release of people who then attack U.S. troops or attack U.S. civilians. And you're the only person who can spend the political capital to avoid the situation in which you are individually accountable for the disasters that unfold. And I think that awareness suffused this speech in a very substantial way. And he kept coming back to the idea that as commander-in-chief, he was not going to do things to endanger the country. And I think that does force you at some point to deal with these issues in a way that's very immediate and very, pressing, and that does require the expenditure of your political capital.